Hey YouTube world, it's the time of the year. Gosh, the weather is cold today. Let's check what's the temperature for today. Hey Siri. What is the temperature for today?
The high for today will be 32 degrees, and the low will be 25.
Well, I guess I must have been mistaken. I'm probably not living in the northern hemisphere. Well, for some reason, I'm starting to feel a little bit warm. Well, I guess you would have been guessing correctly by now. Yes, today our topic is ice wine. Now, ice wine is a type of sweet dessert wine. It is perfect for those that have a sweet tooth. Now, how sweet is ice wine? Ice wine tend to have a residual sugar over 100 grams per liter, and it has a relatively low alcohol level of around 7%. Just for comparison purpose, we can compare to a 1 liter bottle of Coca-Cola. This is roughly the amount of sugar that we can find in 1 liter of ice wine. Now, we're talking about ice wine now because ice wine is only produced during winter. These wines are produced from grapes that are frozen while still on the vine. While the water in the grape freezes, the sugars and the dissolved solids in the grapes do not freeze, and that allows for a more concentrated grape juice and resulting in a very sweet wine. The special thing about ice wine is all about the purity of the fruits. Grapes that are used to make ice wine should not be affected by noble rots, because if the grapes are affected by noble rots, botrytis, these grapes should be used to make other types of sweet wines. For example, Sauternes from Bordeaux or Trockenbeeren's Auslese from Germany. Well, this wine is all about the purity of fruits. What you can taste is honey, candied fruits, apricot, and because it's so sweet, it's great to have a bit of acidity to offset the sweetness on the palate. Now, since the grapes have to be frozen on the vine, a frost of -8 degrees Celsius is required, and therefore not all the countries can make ice wine. The most famous examples come from Germany and Canada. Now, the two countries are specialized in two different grapes. Germany is specialized in Riesling. It is a noble variety. It makes fresh, pure-fruited ice wines. It has a high acidity level, and usually the finest ice wines come from Riesling. Now, Canada is specialized in another grape variety, which is called Vidal. It is a hybrid grape, well known for winter hardiness. You see, although we need the grapes to be frozen, sometimes the weather in North America can be really cold and volatile. And this hybrid Vidal is specially made to survive these harsh winter temperatures. Now, the interesting thing about Vidal is if it's made as a dry wine, it doesn't have a lot of character, but then it's excellent for making ice wine, although it doesn't have the same acid structure and aromatic complexity compared to Riesling. In any case, the ice wines made in Canada are still of very good quality. For example, those ice wines made in Niagara are regulated by a very strict regulatory system in Canada, which is called the VQA. It is a system that guarantees the quality and authenticity of Canadian wines produced in British Columbia and Ontario, kind of like the AOC in France or the DOC in Italy. So this is how an ice wine bottle typically looks like. I got this in Canada. The grape is Vidal, and it's indicated on the bottle as VQA, which means this wine is made in compliance with the VQA regulatory system. Now, you may wonder, what about other regions in Canada? Some regions are pretty cold as well during winter. Now, you're right. Actually, other regions also produce ice wine, but they don't have the same regulatory system as British Columbia and Ontario. In fact, I also got an ice wine bottle from Quebec. Quebec is a French-speaking region in Canada. So in Quebec, they call it vin de glace, which is ice wine in French. For those that know Quebec, we know that the region is definitely cold enough to get the grapes frozen. And perhaps it's a bit too cold. The severe cold may actually kill the vines. That's the reason why there are not that many producers in Quebec that makes ice wines. Other than the common grapes, Riesling and Vidal that I just mentioned, there are actually a few less common grapes that also make ice wines. White grapes varieties such as Gewürztraminer, Chardonnay, Pinot Gris, Pinot Blanc, and ice wines can actually be made using red grapes as well, such as Cabernet Franc, Pinot Noir, Merlot, Cabernet Sauvignon. Some Canadian wineries are actually making sparkling ice wines as well. Probably by now you can already tell that making ice wine is quite a tricky business because ice wines need to be frozen, so they have to be stay on the vines for a much longer period. Instead of harvesting the grapes in September, the grapes can only probably be picked in November or December, and sometimes even January or February. Let's put it this way, this is probably a wine that is only produced from time to time. There's no guarantee of harvest every year. And it is also a very niche wine, and it only accounts for 0.1% of German wine production. As a matter of fact, I went to Germany a few years ago. The production was so small that I wasn't able to buy any ice wine. And because of global warming and climate change, the temperature rises. Germany was actually unable to produce any ice wine for the 2019 vintage. And it is the first time in history that there is no ice wine production in Germany. While Canada has a more reliable freeze, it has also started to be affected by climate change as well in recent years. Now, because of all the challenges, it explains why ice wines are not cheap. The prices for a small bottle start from around 20 euros, and the high quality ones can even go over 100 euros. And not to mention, if you are not staying in the ice wine production countries like Canada or Germany, if you get these wines abroad, they can actually be much more expensive. So that's all for today. I hope you have learned something new. If you like this video, do give me a thumbs up. And if you are new to this channel and you want to see more wine related videos, do subscribe to this channel. And I'll see you next time. Ciao.